What's going on, guys? My name is Wade with TechDaily, and in this video, we are checking out the brand new iPhone Air. Don't call it the iPhone 17 Air because this phone is totally different from the actual new iPhone 17 lineup. This is Apple's super thin iPhone. Thin is in, apparently, and this phone also has some other, dare I say, controversial features. For some people, this is going to be that new, unique, easy to hold, comfortable in your pocket iPhone that no one else has. But for the haters, this is an iPhone that nobody asked for, and that has way too many compromises to make sense. Whatever side you're on, let me know in the comments. And in the meantime, I'm going to fill you in on everything you need to know about this new iPhone Air. First things first, of course, let's just quickly unbox it, and then we'll see just how thin it really is. Sliding off the lid, the first thing you see is the phone itself facing up for whatever reason, a little anticlimactic, but holding it here for the very first time, yes, you immediately notice just how thin this phone is. It is very obvious how different this phone feels compared to any other iPhone you might already be used to. Is that a good thing? Well, I guess we'll find out soon enough. Setting it aside for just a moment here, the only other items included in the box are a little eSIM info guide and some legal stuff, and then your standard issue, but nicer than average, USB-C charging cable. No Apple stickers or anything else tossed in. With that stuff out of the way, let's get back to this iPhone Air. Now, as far as pricing and its placement within the iPhone lineup, this is a somewhat unique non-17 branded iPhone. It's just iPhone Air, but it falls in between the regular new iPhone 17 and the new iPhone 17 Pro. It starts at $999 for the 256GB model, and you might not be able to tell, but my iPhone Air is in fact in the sky blue color. It's a very subtle color, even in person, arguably closer to gray, and the other shades you can choose from are light gold, cloud white, and space black. Not exactly a vibrant selection. Now, the first thing that's interesting about this iPhone Air is that it's actually bigger. That is, its screen size. It's a 6.5-inch smartphone corner to corner, so a couple tenths larger than the regular 17 and 17 Pro, but not quite as gargantuan as the Pro Max. I guess this size sort of, in a way, replaces the Plus iPhones we used to have, but from the front, it is a very familiar looking iPhone. That's where the familiarity ends though. When you turn this phone to the side, or all the way around, this is a very different looking iPhone. The back panel is all glass. A frosted matte ceramic shield, which is something we've seen on previous iPhones, or at least similar to it, and the sides and frame of the phone are titanium. Again, a material we've had previously, but this is a polished to a mirror-like finish titanium grade 5 material, which makes the phone allegedly bend-proof and super tough, though obviously very fingerprinty, even if it also looks ultra-premium with that shiny finish. Obviously, with the phone facing sideways here, you can sort of get a sense of its thinness, which, let's be honest, is basically the reason for its existence. To talk specifics here, it is exactly 5.6 millimeters thin. By comparison, the new iPhone 17 Pro is a meaty 8.8 millimeters thick, which puts things into perspective for sure. And since I know a lot of you are going to ask, here it is next to the other super thin phone, the S25 Edge. The iPhone Air beats it by just 0.2 millimeters, so congrats to Apple, they won this year's thin war. But to do that, this phone had to incorporate some other interesting design and component choices. The 5.6 millimeter measurement obviously does not include this camera bulge, which Apple now affectionately calls the camera plateau. And one of the secrets of this iPhone Air is just the fact that many of the internal components that would usually be spread around the whole entire inside have now been crammed up into this camera plateau. That's one of the main reasons why 80% of the rest of the phone, besides this area, can be so thin. To be totally honest though, the camera plateau kind of makes the iPhone Air off balance. It's top heavy, basically, when you hold it in your hand, so that's something to think about. And this thin form factor yields two other pretty major compromises. The first is obvious. You only get one camera lens on the iPhone Air. The other surprising omission is the main loudspeaker at the bottom. These are just microphone holes. The only speaker this phone has is the combination earpiece one up at the top. And yeah, you can imagine it's a lot quieter and a lot less good sounding compared to a proper dual speaker setup on a different iPhone or any other smartphone in existence. The rest of the iPhone stuff remains on this iPhone Air. The action button and volume buttons are still there, the power button and camera control are in their usual spot, and the USB-C port remains at the bottom. I feel like some people thought that would get taken away. One last thing I'll just quickly say about the design before we get into the actual specs and important stuff. Just like with Samsung's S25 Edge, this iPhone Air is a phone you sort of have to hold yourself to understand it. Yes, it feels different. Yes, it's very surprising how thin it is. It's also more comfortable one-handed. It's lighter. I can see some benefits for sure, but you can only decide that for yourself if you pick one up and play around with it. Now, I think to the relief of most people, this iPhone Air more closely aligns spec-wise with the Pro iPhones rather than the regular iPhone. Its display is an LTPO Super Retina XDR OLED with 120Hz ProMotion, better than 1080p 1260 by 2736 resolution, and the additional bump up in brightness to 3000 nits peak that the Pro iPhones also got this year. Though one could make the argument that the regular iPhone 17, with its own screen upgrades, is in fact the exact same as this too. But I like to think all these screen specs were Pro features first. And a lot of us were worried Apple might cheap out to keep costs low or save something for the next iPhone Air. That really wasn't the case, at least with the display. And in fact, given its bigger size, if you like that, this is sort of like getting a cheaper Pro Max. It's not quite as big, but it's bigger than the Pro and the regular without any compromises. Inside, the iPhone Air is powered by Apple's all-new A19 Pro chip. To be completely transparent though, it's just a little less powerful than the chip of the same name in the actual Pro iPhones this year. But it's decisively better than the non-Pro A19 in the non-Pro iPhone. This phone also gets 12 gigabytes of RAM, the same as the Pros and more than the regular. So as far as its perceived performance and internal specs, like I said, it leans a bit more towards the Pro side. But this iPhone Air doesn't get the new vapor chamber found inside the Pros to help with cooling and prop up sustained performance. Its super shiny titanium frame also might contribute to some higher than desired internal heat compared to the newly designed all-aluminum 17 Pros. And all those components crammed up inside the camera plateau, well, we'll have to just see how this new iPhone performs in the real world. I think it'll still fall a little short versus a proper Pro iPhone. But again, while Apple could have compromised more here, it feels like they're 90% of the way there. I think what a vast majority of people are most curious about and likely concerned with is battery life. So let's talk about it. Inside, the iPhone Air has a reported 3149 mAh battery. That's the smallest out of this year's entire lineup, I think to the surprise of no one, but it's not substantially smaller. It's about 500 mAh less than the regular iPhone 17. Now, sure, Apple did, in one quick breath, also mention their new MagSafe battery pack, which I kid you not is made specifically and solely for this iPhone Air and will not fit right on any other new iPhone. But some initial tests online have shown the iPhone Air lasting a lot longer than people expected, within an hour or two of the rest of the lineup, basically. Obviously, everyone's use is going to be different, and I look forward to seeing if the iPhone Air can handle my own day-to-day phone activities. I'm doubtful personally, but with iOS 26, the new processors, and all the other optimization Apple has implemented this year, it seems like all the new iPhones offer better battery life, so there's a bit of hope at least. And when you inevitably do need to charge, unfortunately, the iPhone Air didn't get the slightly faster charging speeds now offered on the Pros. Wired, you're looking at power delivery 2.0, 50% juice in about 30 minutes. And this phone does have wireless charging, so not a total spec miss, but a pip below what might have been expected. Beyond the battery life, the other more obvious perceived issue with this iPhone Air is its camera setup, or lack thereof. Around back, you'll find just one lens, which is unusual for an iPhone, or any smartphone really in today's world. In typical Apple fashion, they've fluffed this up and call it a 48 megapixel Fusion main camera. Paired with the new 18 megapixel center stage selfie camera, Apple claims 4 lenses in your pocket, which certainly won't be convincing to the average person. Essentially, what you have here is a 48 megapixel capable main shooter, which defaults to 24 megapixels, and it has a 2x telephoto for barely better than average zoom, but no ultra wide, nothing beyond 10x digital zoom, arguably a pretty bare bones deal. The new selfie camera is cool. This is on all the new iPhones, and you can basically take a portrait or landscape group selfie without flipping your phone around. I guess this wide angle selfie is the 4th lens Apple mentions, and this is a cool feature. You also get dual capture video now, so you can film with the selfie camera and the rear camera at the same time. But without beating around the bush here, the camera setup is just pretty limited when you factor in what you'd get in options for, say, the cheaper iPhone 17, for instance, but especially the Pro iPhones. Yeah, I'm sure Apple could only cram so much into that camera plateau, and maybe if you're a smartphone minimalist, the no-frills camera setup matches the super slim form factor. And maybe you don't need a long-lasting battery either if you use the phone sparingly. But anyone with a little bit of tech sense and above average smartphone usage probably recognizes that the cool factor for this phone, its thinness, maybe yields a few too many compromises. But what do you guys think? Is the iPhone Air something that interests you? Would you consider a super thin smartphone right now? Let me know in the comments down below. I'd love to hear your thoughts, of course. Hopefully you guys did enjoy this video though. Be sure to follow TechDaily on Twitter and subscribe to the TechDaily YouTube channel if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys later.